It is my pleasure to introduce you to Ms. Renu Kaul Verma, founder director of Vitasta Publishing, which has carved out a niche for itself with its political books. She's a former journalist who has worked with newspapers like the Indian Express and Hindustan Times. She has also co-authored a biography on one of the most enigmatic leaders of our time in India, Self. Um, Her company, Vitasta Publishing, has published more than 400 books so far. Vitasta also has a tie-up with the international publishing company Sage Publications, and they've done 6 books under the combined Sage Vitasta imprint. The goal of this collaboration with Sage was to give Vitasta books broader international exposure, greater visibility in the Indian subcontinent. In 2021, Vitasta plans to be visible in the US and UK market, working with a partner in the US. I requested Ms. Verma to speak with you as publishing is an industry that is globally dominated by multinational companies. In my view, she brings a unique perspective to our discussion of international business and globalization. In terms of structure, I will start with some prepared questions, and then we will open the floor for students' questions. Of course, also welcome to type their questions in the chat box if they have connectivity issues. Welcome to this session.
Thank you so much, Vishal. It's a pleasure to be talking to students whom I rate very high. And before the chat began, I was telling you the children today are really smart and very intelligent. So it is a pleasure, and thank you for having me.
And I tell my students at IIM Kashipur that because they are at IIM, they are the future business leaders of India, right? So yeah, thank you. Yes. Can you share with the audience something about your current professional and personal life?
Well, you have said it all. I don't think I have anything to add to that. Nevertheless, I run this small independent publishing house in Delhi, which I started in 2006. I remember it was January, and there was this international book fair where I had put up a stand, and I sold a very, very sensitive book, which I will tell you about shortly. And I could sell about 55 copies, and that was an achievement for me. So I live in Delhi with my lawyer politician husband and 2 boys, one of whom is pursuing BTech in BITS Pilani, and the other is in class 10 in modern school Barakamba. So professionally, Vitasta has managed to carve out a niche for itself. We as you said, we do stand tall among the many multinational companies in this very competitive industry known for its long hours and crazy deadlines due to our hard work, dedication, strong beliefs, and I guess never give up spirit. And the credit also goes to my team. We have a very lean and a smart team, just about 10 of us who are running the show, and most of them are women. So yeah, that's it. That's about me. And childhood, as you said, I don't know. I just before this chat, I was telling you that the students, the youngsters, might not even be able to comprehend how we lived when we were young. So I typically, I grew up in a middle class household where the studies and values were the only 2 things that we would hear day in and day out. Life was simple and slow with very few distractions. I think just 2-3 set of clothes and a pair of shoes was all that we had. And to get good grades and to be good humans was all that was expected of us. So I think I changed many schools. My father had a transferable job. So every 3-4 years, I would, there was a change of school. And I was a very average student, did not know what to do till late in life, unlike the students today. But yes, there was always a desire to do something meaningful. Reading and writing was perhaps something I liked doing. So I studied mass communication after bachelor's. So when you are younger and you want to, you really have that josh in you and you want to change the world. So journalism was a natural choice for me. I joined the Indian Express and I was there for a short while, about a year, and then I moved to Hindustan Times. Um, I uh, I wouldn't say I was very happy. After initial few years, the bubble of that, sab kuch badal dalunga, it just burst, and I was not enjoying my work. It felt like doing a job without any purpose. Uh, while I was thinking of what to do and how to, it had been taught to us that we have to work, whatever be the case, even being a woman, that time used to be, girls in most households, they were, jobs were not the priority. But in my family, it was, we were told that yes, we had to, have a career. So I was contemplating what to do. Um, there was this friend of mine who gave me a manuscript to edit. It was a taboo subject, about 4 lakh words, um, and the subject was brahmacharya concepts of Gandhiji. Imagine 20 years ago reading about brahmacharya experiments of Gandhiji. It was like it was a taboo subject, so a very sensitive subject. But this manuscript really changed my perspective about life, about how even the greatest of men could do something weird and yet be honest about it, because Gandhiji himself wrote about it in his, collected works. So since it was a very sensitive subject and had to be dealt with very carefully, though well referenced, it was written really well. It was written by um, a, a chief librarian who had set up Sapru Library in Delhi and was the chief of JNU Library. So it was very well referenced, but yet, it had everything to set the country on fire. So I edited it very, I was very conscious of the fact that it was to be done very carefully. So it took me about a year to edit it. As was expected, publishers refused to publish it. As contemplating a change in my career, I grabbed this opportunity and decided to set up a publishing house. And as the luck would have been, the book was a great hit. It was reviewed by almost every section of the media. Many papers even had editorials written on it. The book was on AP bestsellers list for 3 consecutive months. And at the end of it, the author was in tears, and I had found my calling. So that is how Vitasta began.
Great. Now you've made me curious about the book too. So next time I'm in India, I'll get the book also to read it. You mentioned.
Yeah, it is called Brahmacharya Gandhi and his Women Associates.
Great, thank you. You shared about your childhood. You shared about mass communication. Your parents into journalism or business ownership? Is that why you went into journalism?
No. My father uh, uh, was into postal services, and as I said, during that time, they you used to have those values. Nationalism was at its peak. We used to sing patriotic songs in schools, so that is how it was natural. So as I had some interest in reading and writing, so I thought, let me just pursue this course. And I did masters, and then immediately I got this job also in Indian Express, and that's how the journey began.
Okay, great.
So
Now,
I did about 11 years of journalism before I quit and started this Vitasta Publishing.
Okay. Now you're in the publishing industry. How has the Indian publishing industry been affected by globalization over the past few years?
Uh, yes, globalization has had its effect with 100% FDI allowed in the industry. The major chunk of the market is already swept away by the top 4 or 5 multinational companies, leaving the Indian publishers in a market where they don't have an equal amount of resources and investment to fight or give even a strong competition. So the global publishers have, I think it is much easier for them, right from the manuscript to shelf space. They have it easy, packed as they are, very well financially. They, things have changed so much. Perhaps due to the money-rich multinational companies, they are in a position to offer advances to advance royalties to authors. So also, it is the colonial hangover that we have. Every author wants to, they want to get published by these top 4 or 5 multinational companies, and also, they can even take huge risks with manuscripts because their entire operation might not be dependent on the revenue of one book, whereas a book that had had been hugely invested in but fails could lead a small publisher to near bankruptcy. That I think is not to say that Indian publishers are doing badly. The kind of list the Indian publishers, especially the independent ones, have been coming up with year after year. Intellectually, it is such a joy to see their books do so well, despite despite difficulties, despite lack of resources. At the end, I think it is a good book that sells, because the route is the same. Even the best of publishers, the top publishers, they also go through the same route. They sell their books through the same route, and we also do the same. So I think it has changed, but there is a flip side also. It has made the publishing industry more organized. The publishing industry, I find, has become very professional now. The industry that had no payment cycle and there used to be 100% returns is beginning to rethink. They are now wanting to become organized, because otherwise they will have no place. It's the fear of some foreign players that they have begun to think that, yeah, they have to mend their ways.
So, Ms. Verma, in talking to you, I get the sense that you believe that globalization has brought things to Indian publishing and also brought some bad things like increased competition to Indian publishing. So would that be a correct way of summarizing sort of your views on globalization in Indian publishing? Some good, some bad.
That is how I think the global village today is. So their competition is always good, but it's just that we small publishers have to compete with the bigger ones at every level, at every stage, right from the manuscript. Naturally the people want to go to these bigger ones to their brand conscience. So right from there to the shelf space, because they have the money to buy the shelf, so which we do not have. So there is, it has both the sides. It has made the industry organized. I remember it used to be such a bad industry. After people would not respond to your calls, you had to literally beg them to keep your book. And then at the end of that season, 1 year used to be the credit limit, but they never used to pay you in 1 month, 1 year's time. So that time also you had to beg. And some of them would just vanish, you wouldn't find them. So that is how I started that newspaper. I don't know whether I have told you about that. So I was so pissed off with the industry that being a journalist, so I thought, let me just have this newspaper where everyone could, voice their, there used to be a lot of issues. So it did well for about 10, 11 years. And again, the lack of resources. So I had to shelve it for some time, but then the pandemic has taught us that we can go digital. So we are trying to revive it now.
Okay. Now that moves me to my next question. You said the industry is dominated by top 4 or 5 foreign publishers, like big publishers. Is there any Indian publishers that are competing sort of at an equal footing with them? And is there any Indian publishers going overseas?
I'm glad you asked this question. There is a serious lack of balance between the visibility of Western publishers in India and Indian publishers in the West. I think I mentioned it before also. I attribute this to 2 reasons. One, colonial mindset, and other, the lack of resources. So we in India still suffer from colonial hangover, and in the West, they have this colonial supremacy. They feel that they are superior. So anything foreign, we feel, has to be good. Right from kindergarten, you introduce children to the foreign authors, and they're reading only the foreign authors. My son, when he was, now though he doesn't read these books, but then when he was younger, he was a prolific reader and would read only the foreign authors. And I used to be really angry at him. I used to, he doesn't know any Indian literature. So that is very sad, actually. So, but that is how it is. And I can't blame the foreign publishers flooding the Indian market with their product because it sells. So this also, I think, is reflective of how overbearing Western culture is. We see not only, this is not only seen in publishing, but it is also there in television and music. You see, every child I come across today, they are watching US, UK television shows, or are into Western music. They listen to Western music or sing Western songs. So it is all over. But sadly, you don't see much presence of the Indian publishers or authors in the overseas market. I think that there are some amazing publishing houses that deserve to sell in Indian markets, international markets. This is not just limited to fiction or non-fiction. Even children's publishing is doing great right now. So, but to be there, you need resources. So, which we in the Indian publishers lack. So, publishing, as you know, is a capital-intensive industry. Returns are low. It is hard to get investors interested in your business. So the only way left is you need collaborations with foreign publishers to make this a possibility. Individually, it seems like a Herculean task. Having said that, I do think that this is started to slowly change. We are beginning to take pride in our literature, Indian literature. And pandemic also has been a great leveler. It has brought the world closer. I see more and more online events that are focused on Indian writers and culture. And the reach is far and wide.
So you think there will be Indian publishers and Indian authors who have a chance at competing in the international markets?
Why not? Why not? If I think, as I said, we have to shed this colonial mindset, and then there has to be more and more of these, collaborations. Without which, I think I find it difficult, for Indians to compete in the international market.
Now, you mentioned that, publishing is a capital intensive business. And of course, Vitasta is only 14 years old company or 13. Now, are there any big Indian publishers that you foresee succeeding in the international markets?
Oh yes, definitely. Why only big? I think in the intro you said that Vitasta might also be visible in the US in the near future, and which is true. And we have tied up with a US publisher and distributor, and soon we are going to be co-publishing all our books. So as I said, with pandemic, one thing we have learned is that borders now don't exist. Everything is done online, so it is much easier now. The market is evolving. A lot of change has happened, and a lot is on a cusp. I am very positive. Very soon we can see our books hit the foreign market. There is no doubt that we are creating books that are up to the international market standards. It is just a question of how soon. The publisher that we have signed up with is Global Collective. It's based in the US, and we'll be doing some joint publishing and distribution. And together we plan to create some awareness about Indian publishing in the US.
Great. Now I will open the floor to questions from students.
Hi, ma'am. Hi, I have a question. I'm Ankit. So my question is basically, like you said, that there have been and there is a colonial hangover associated, which is quite prevalent even today. But considering the fact that we are becoming more and more global, and even people are finding platforms like Kindle to self-publish their books. So how do you think that has revolutionized the field altogether? And do you think it's the next big thing, or it still will be at the mercy of a few big publishing houses even going ahead, especially for the newer writers?
Kindle pre-COVID was just a trickle. But during pandemic, during this lockdown, Kindle has done really well. And most of the publishers, we have seen a substantial increase in the revenue from Kindle. We also, every book of ours is on Kindle also. So there is a substantial increase in the revenue. And I see a lot of young authors today. They are, it is easier to self-publish on Kindle. So they are taking that route. But yeah, there are some authors who do want to see their books in hard copy. They want to have that feel. So that feel, is amazing, and that feel is. There is no match to that. So even I feel that because the people are saying that we might have to now get digital, but I really dread that thought, and I really want to see my books in hard copy, and that feel, that smell, everything. It is so nice to see that book. So of course, Kindle will lot of people, a lot of young people will take that route. But yes, they would like to, go with the traditional publishers also.
Other questions from the students? Let me build on this question from Ankit, which is, I read somewhere that when Indian actors, and in India, actors are role models for many people, when Indian actors are asked what books they are reading, except maybe people like Amitabh Bachchan, most of them usually say foreign authors. And you also mentioned, say, only reads foreign authors. Why do you think it is, other than the colonial mindset? Do you think there are other reasons for why this is the case? That Indian authors do not rank for most people in their reading list? Or is it a
because no, it is a fashion statement, definitely. But people had no choice but to read these foreign authors, because the market used to be flooded with foreign literature and foreign authors. But now things have changed. For last about 8-10 years, I think I see a lot of Indian authors coming up, and people have begun to read Indian authors. And also because there is that environment of nationalism, super nationalism, and people have started to publish Indian literature. There are some rare books that are being reprinted, um, in the hope that it might get picked up. But people have started reading that, and people have started taking pride in Indian literature. And I do see, even I was telling you about my son, that he used to read foreign authors, although he doesn't read much now, but then he does talk about Indian literature. He does talk about things we never used to talk about earlier. So there is definitely a change in the mindset, and people have begun to, take to Indian literature.
Other questions from the students?
Hello, ma'am. Rahul here. Yeah. So actually, I have more interest in Indian literature. But as I grew up, so as my peers are reading the foreign author, and when they discuss about the story, so they feel a pride that they are reading the foreign author and not an Indian author. So it pressurizes you also that you should read the English book and then make a part of the discussion. So how this particular feeling is encouraging more Indians to read the foreign author and not the Indian one. So is it the factor?
Yes, yeah. If everyone is reading or is seen with a foreign author in his or her hand, there definitely is a peer pressure. But as I said, I do see change of attitude now. People, I think there has been a reverse in the thinking. I don't know. It's a very small. Some of the people I have seen, they feel pride. Earlier it used to be the foreign author. If you read and you feel that it used to be a statement. But now I think if you know Sanskrit, if you read those culture books on culture, so that also is seen as statement. So thanks also to these panelists on TV these days. They are so good at their articulation, Sanskrit or articulation, Hindi articulation, and English as well. So they are more like role models. And when younger people see some of the great orators speaking three different languages, Sanskrit language, so fluently, so they also try, and they also want to be seen like them. So I think things are changing now. It will take time, but then things will definitely change.
I'll build on that question to ask another question, which is, I'm sure you've either heard or seen the movie Slumdog Millionaire, right? And
Yes.
say that when the West looks at Indian culture or Indian, they want to see a certain image of India that sort of fits their mindset.
Yeah.
Now that you are trying to expand or take Indian books to America and other Western countries, how will you sort of avoid that trap where they want to read in your books about poverty and problems and, not the positive side of India, but almost like the slumdog millionaire side of India? Or is that not an issue? Whatever sells will sell.
Frankly, for a publisher, that is what the attitude should be. What sells will naturally, because the money is involved, and you will publish, or you will take books that they want to read. Although we will be doing all our books, those will be published in the US simultaneously, whether it is Indian culture or anything that they want to read. But yes, of course, focus will also be on something that will sell there to kind of make our presence felt. If the books do not sell, then there's no point. So that aspect is also important.
At the back of your mind, though, do you think about this positive, negative image, or that's not even sort of on the Indian publishers' minds at all?
I don't think it is a business for us. We have to do what. In fact, this industry also is divided and divided deeply, because there is also this left and right and all those things. But personally, I feel that publishers shouldn't have any ideology. So because we have to, if left is about 50%, right is also about 50%. So why not do books for both? Why not have both the narratives? They have to coexist. So I strongly feel that publishers shouldn't get into this divide, and they should be doing books that the audience wants.
Great. Let me ask students if they have other questions. Students, any questions?
Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. Hello. Very good evening. I am Shubham Soni. So I wanted to ask you, ma'am, that as we are living in a digital world and most of the people are turning towards, as a viewing audience rather than a reading audience. So how this change in attitude has been affecting the publishing industry, and what are the new initiatives we are taking in terms of enticing those audience back to reading audience?
Yeah, Shubham, it's an important question, actually. I also see this change, especially during the lockdown. So these OTT platforms and other video platforms, people had a lot of time, so they were addicted to some of these shows and OTT mediums. But and even now, I think audio more than video, I think audio should do well in future, because when I also drive down from home to work and from work to home, I also just switch on something. I also like to read, to hear audio books or any conversation. So I think that has a lot of demand, that should have a lot of demand. I don't know how, I've not yet done research whether that is doing well, but that should have a demand. I don't think it will affect publishing as such, but yes, publishers will have to integrate. Publishers will also have to be ready for the change. They also will have to have this medium as well, along with the text that they produce, the print version that they produce. But I am of the strong opinion that print is not going to go anywhere. So print will have its place, but yes, we will have to diversify and kind of also get into all these mediums, digital mediums.
Definitely, ma'am. Like as you talked about the diversification, now these publishers are also looking for the filmmakers. Like as you can see the example of Twinkle Khanna.
What makers? I'm sorry. What makers?
Film movie makers.
Filmmakers. Yes.
Because as you can see, the Twinkle Khanna is also writing a book, publishing it, and also making a movie on that. So it's kind of integration where publisher can do.
Yes. Yeah, that's what there is a great demand for books these days. There are a lot of adaptations happening, so it is helping each other. So there is no threat at all. It is in fact opening a new door for the publishers, and we are doing quite well there. A lot of books being adapted, and even we have our about 8 books have been made into films. So that is a great medium, and that gives us an additional revenue.
So, before we sort of move into the last part of our talk today, One question I wanted to ask you was, recently Harvard University Press published a book on Dada Bhai Nauroji. And in reviewing the book for the Wall Street Journal, a reviewer wrote that there is no other major country in the world that is as neglectful of biographies of historical figures as India. Uh, would you agree with that, that there is almost little to no market for historical biographies in India?
No, I beg to differ here. I think there's a great market for biographies, and biographies are doing very well. And given a choice, I would like to do only the biographies. They're interesting. They sell well, and they are inspiring. And so you get both the revenue and that social thing that for which you came into publishing. I think I personally really love to do biographies, and we have done quite a few biographies. And I would like to get into that. So if anybody interested in doing some research and doing the biographies, I would really welcome.
Great. Thank you. And now I'm going to move to the last part of sort of this talk. Have you published any books that you think may be relevant to students of international business?
I think students of business need constant stimulus to feel motivated. So I personally like to read, as I said, biographies and read success stories. So I like to publish them also. We have done a series called Dream Chasers. So we've done about 4 or 5 of them, and these are all short biographies of people who were doing great, who were into lucrative businesses, and they left and then started. They started those social what you call startups. They got into startups. So it's the time of people get into startups and they want to start something. So we have also done like Baiju, and then we had this Paytm guy, and all those who have made it really big. We have done biographies of these people. So it is called Dream Chasers. It's a series of 3 books in Dream Chasers. It's called Dream Chasers. So this is apart from the technical books that we have done. So there's not a big, we haven't done much in business so far, just about 10 books. But yes, I would like to build a business line and Vitasta business or leadership, Vitasta leadership. So I am looking for manuscripts, I am looking for authors. And I am also doing some corporate biographies. So mostly profitable books, but then I'm open to doing smaller versions of corporate biographies.
So Dream Chasers is a set of 3 books. Is that correct for now? And
Yes,
that's something you think business students would find relevant?
Yes, I think every student of business should read them.
Okay, I will be recommending, and I will also be getting that for my house in India to look at Dream Chasers. Thank you very much. My last question.
I will be sending you probably the title information, which you can also share it with your students.
Please do. We would love to share that with the students. I think I tell my students here, I tell students in India that the more they read, the more they learn. And as you point out, students these days are reading less when they should be more. So yes, I'm with you. My last question to you. You have young boys who are, one of them is in college. You also probably in your job as a journalist, in your job as a publisher, meet a lot of young people who've graduated and want to make, be successful in their life. And given that you are a publisher, you probably also meet a lot of successful people. So what advice would you offer to our students who will be graduating soon to work in a globalized world? What can you do to be successful?
Well, children, as I said before, also children today are extremely intelligent. I sometimes feel it is we older people who have to learn from them. Nevertheless, going by my experience, I would like to say there is no shortcut to success. please work hard, be positive, be principled. That is very important, honest, self-driven, and productive. And also, please don't get discouraged if you fail. Whatever happens for good. So you just be sure that there is something good going to happen. So if you fail, please do not get discouraged. It opens up doors for other opportunities. Just never give up. That's it.
So I am taking notes, and what I wrote was no shortcut to success. Don't get discouraged or don't give up, and have some principles. Is that sort of
Exactly.
so?
And
Let
have
me,
a purpose in life. Make your life meaningful. So just don't run after money. Money will come to you on its own. If you do well in your whatever you are doing, money will come. So don't just run after the money. Just do something meaningful and with purpose.
it's interesting that we were before your talk. We in the class we were talking about happiness and not money for the sake of money, but the money that comes, which is what you hear from.
Yeah.
Let me ask.
Money is important, no doubt. Money is important, but then you just don't have to run after money. Yeah.
So on that note, I will thank you for joining us today for this talk. I found it very informative, and I hope the students did too. If any of them wants to connect with you on LinkedIn or any other social media platform, is that okay?
Most welcome. I'm on Facebook, not very active because of my tight deadlines. But yes, you can connect with me through Messenger, through maybe you can share my phone number, and we can anytime chat. No problem at all. You're most welcome.
Great. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Namaskar.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you all of you.